Now that things are reopening following COVID-19 and the pandemic, there have been a lot of lessons learned, a lot of pivots made. I'm joined here today by Terry Malley. He is the president and CEO of Malley Industries. They are a specialty manufacturing company based in Dieppe, New Brunswick. And I'm also joined by, I'll say, serial entrepreneur and award-winning fashion designer, Lisa Drader Murphy from Nova Scotia. Welcome to you both.
Welcome. Thank you.
So Lisa, I'm going to start with you. And perhaps you can tell me, just walk me back to what life was like with you and your businesses and what you were doing pre-mid-March.
Pre-mid-March, I was planning to be back at my home in France, where my husband and I have been residing for the past year off and on. That obviously didn't happen. I was working on a new collection that we were going to be launching in all of our stores. And I had a very busy hospitality season planned that I'd been gearing up for the previous 2 years, and we were finally having our breakthrough season. So that's what we were doing before this all hit.
And how about you, Terry? What was your world looking like pre-mid-March?
Well, business for us was pretty much as usual, although we sensed storm clouds coming because where we're in the automotive industry, when the COVID started in China, it affected Chinese manufacturing companies that supply parts to the automotive industry. So we saw I guess we expected it to be a some short-term pain until these factories started opening up again, but we didn't really anticipate, how quickly COVID got to North America and impacted the manufacturing plants here. Causing them actually to shut down in mid-March. So supply chain has been our biggest concern since then. But as we've been deemed an essential business, we've been open right through and busy, but we're always cognizant of those supply chain issues.
Right. I mean, in retrospect, it is fascinating and kind of horrifyingly amazing, actually, how quickly things changed in the course of a single week. I mean, we went from business as normal and being cautious to suddenly everything is shut down completely, and not just even locally, but worldwide. You were deemed an essential service, so your business stayed open. Lisa, a lot of your business was in the retail sector, and that was forced to close. What did this mean for you, and how do you adjust?
Well, essentially in mainstream retail, which we're not in the service industry, we weren't mandated to close, but many of our colleagues and people in my industry chose to in Nova Scotia. And it was a terrifying decision. I mean, even when initially we thought, well, this is a 2-week shutdown, which is now close to 3 months, and we're just barely reopening our boutiques now. I thought that was going to be challenging. 2 weeks with absolutely no revenues, laying off my entire staff. It was frightening for sure.
Right. Now that said, you haven't been inactive in the last few months, have you?
Not at all. We've been very, very busy. So we launched into research immediately on non-medical masks. And I have a background in technical industrial design, product design for the garment manufacturing industry. So I put my material science thinking cap back on, and we designed a face mask using neoprene, and we developed this product to market direct to consumer, and we have shipped close to 30,000 of them at this point, and it's still going.
Marvelous. So you went from high fashion to PPE very quickly.
Yeah, we did. Overnight. Took 24 hours to rejig our production line.
And Terry, you too as well. I mean, even though you're having some supply chain issues there, and you're being very aware of where product is coming from, and following your traditional product manufacturing, but at the same time, you've created a new opportunity, I think, along the way as well for you and your company.
Well, absolutely. We have a division called Bodyguard where we produce thermoformed plastic products, and our business all the way along is we produce partitions and liners for vans and various vehicles. When COVID came to be a bit of an opportunity for us, in a sense that our normal business in plastics kind of dropped off, but we saw some opportunities to create protective shields for inside of vehicles, to isolate the driver from passengers. And we're now on our third product. We first came up with a universal shield, which could be used in taxis and fleet cars and things like that would fit a variety of different vehicles. We've also worked with another company to develop a quick shield, which is a shield that you can hang, basically hooks onto your shoulder harness connections on each side of your vehicle, so it could be a temporary shield. If you can imagine an Uber driver, for example, who's using their vehicle as a personal vehicle during certain times, and also using it as a taxi sometime, he or she could put that quick shield in very quickly and again separate from the passengers. The third thing from a shield point of view that we've developed is a day cab divider, and this is really for the transportation industry, the trucking industry, basically, where it separates the driver from a passenger in a cab without a back seat, basically. And if you can imagine furniture movers or delivery vehicles where there's two people in the vehicle, it keeps them separately. And I guess the third thing, or the fourth thing that we've come up with we have a graphics division, and we are now producing vinyl floor symbols and arrows like you see in stores and grocery stores, things like that. And that's become very popular with a lot of retail establishments and stuff. So we're able to fill in where we've dropped off on the other side. So it's worked out okay.
Yeah. As you're talking, I'm thinking in my own mind that this must be something that bus drivers are clamoring for, just as a personal protective initiative for them as they're driving the buses, because they're in constant interaction with a broad circle of people.
Well, interesting you say that, because we're actually working on a design for school buses.
Really?
To divide to be able to protect students as well as the driver. So we'll see where that goes, but it's in the development stage now.
So considering your supply chain, has the supply of the product needed to manufacture these shields, has that been an issue or a challenge for you?
We are the biggest consumer of Lexan and plastic products in New Brunswick. So we have a good relationship with our suppliers, and we carry a lot of inventory in stock. So we've had to be careful of it, but it's like every other thing in our supply chain. We have to make sure we have enough product to carry us through. So we've been watching it quite carefully.
Right. Lisa, looking at what you do, I mean, you're in the business of manufacturing. We're seeing a lot of people now moving towards, support local, shop local. Has the supply chain been an issue for you at all, or are you, I don't know, do you create your own fabrics? Forgive my ignorance about this, but
Well, we are a vertical company, but we don't go so far as to create our own fabrics. And yes, the supply chain was an issue for us early on. We were shipping volumes of individual and small orders of face masks, and some of them were taking many, many weeks to go letter mail, and even expedited was getting bogged down. We also had some struggles getting some of our supplies in from manufacturers and mills. We had, air freighted some deliveries that still took 2 to 3 weeks to arrive. So it was challenging, full on production, and then suddenly hitting a halt, having to halt everything because one component hadn't arrived in time to continue production. So yeah, definitely some challenges in the supply chain.
So a question for both of you, and I'm really curious. I mean, the manufacturing process itself, I would think necessitates close interaction with people, even in terms of, the packaging, getting things ready to go out. How do you manage that within your respective businesses? Terry, I'll let you lead with that one.
Well, we got into this very quickly. We started, with the personal protective devices and hand cleaners and stuff like that. Like I say, the biggest challenge we had, particularly on the production floor is the social distancing. We had to revamp the way we laid things out a little bit. Most of our admin people, at least early on, worked from home. And we did the typical stuff with locking down our building. People have to call to get in, and shields everywhere. But we got into the groove very quickly, and quite frankly, our people really embraced what we were trying to do, and were helped us out along, and like I say, it was interesting, I should say, the first few weeks, but once we got the rhythm, things worked out very well.
And Lisa, how about you? How are you managing that in your business?
Well, we did have some challenges with our shipping department. We definitely needed more manpower than the 4 people that were full-time in shipping. Based on physical distancing, we just had no choice. We just had to work twice as hard and speed things up with the manpower that we had. But physical distancing was the big challenge for us.
So for both of you, what has been, I guess, the biggest surprise or biggest lesson learned during this entire process?
Well, for me, we call it the golden nails, in the sense that if we have a $150,000 vehicle being ready to be shipped to a customer and we're missing a $5 part, that will hold us up. So it really got us focused on our supply chain, and because 65% of our business is export, the transportation challenges came up as well, but we've worked through that. We used to have our own drivers do a lot of our deliveries into the U.S., but now we use transport companies, and knock on wood, it's worked out okay, and our products gets delivered, and the demand is still there, so that's good.
And Lisa, how about you? What has been the biggest challenge to you during this whole process, and the most indelible lesson learned?
I have to agree wholeheartedly. The golden nail, that's an interesting way to put it, because it's very true. There was one point where we had 5,000 masks ready, but we were waiting for the cord locks to arrive, and they were, we couldn't ship them without the cord locks. So every day watching the mail and hoping that the delivery truck was going to pull up. But that's definitely been something I haven't had to deal with at this level, at this speed before. So we learned a lot about pre-orders, and never take anything for granted, and top up that order if we knew that we were able to get it delivered. We had to jump on the volume right away, so as to not have to be in the same position in 2 to 3 weeks. So it was definitely very challenging.
I think as a manufacturer, ideally, you always hear about just-in-time inventory. Well, in Atlantic Canada, it usually means late. So you have to accommodate your need. Look at your future production requirements and make sure you have enough of your supplies to carry you through a particular period of time. So. It's an interesting challenge that in more populated areas they don't have quite so much.
Right. Has there been anything, any changes in the way you operate that you plan on taking forward? So we'll say, has COVID changed the way you operate?
I would say for us, yes. We have a more robust online presence now, and we're seeing that that's a great form of our supply chain, that we can reach our customers more directly. It was never something that we had put a lot of energy into previous to COVID, because we focused on creating unique experience in brick and mortar stores, which is what we've just continuously opened stores over the past number of years, and that's been our focus. And we're seeing that having a good website is definitely going to be a priority ongoing after this.
I will say I visited your website this morning, and it was almost a little jarring because the whole top section is about these masks and neoprene and getting the liners, and then right below it you've got the the bodycon dresses and the nice
Yeah.
pants.
Well,
Is there a return to high fashion in your future?
absolutely there is. In fact, we are preparing for some coverage in British Vogue right now, and we've been working on production. We've gone back to what we were doing in March, and I'm about to populate the stores in Halifax and Bedford with a lot of new collections, and really putting shining a light back on the fashion collections as well. So yeah,
Excellent. Well,
definitely.
congratulations for that. British Vogue.
Yeah,
It's a big
yeah.
deal.
Interesting message to get in the middle of COVID. So
I think so. Any big wins for you to report, Thierry, as you're moving forward?
You know, there's always a silver lining, and on the more functional side, I guess that quickly responding to the whole COVID crisis and developing procedures and everything like that. It's we basically developed a manual. If this ever happens again, we'll be more prepared for it. But on the other side, we've one of the unique thing about our ambulance products, for example, is we have a thermoform plastic interior. Nobody else in the industry has that, and we found through social media and stuff, and through our dealer base, that there are some ambulance services in the U.S. that are only using our vehicles for COVID transport because they're so easy to clean. So we're also taking advantage of that from a promotional point of view. That it has become a selling feature, and during these difficult times. So I guess the third thing is that with the supply chain issues, and we started this actually before, but we're even more focused on it now, is we've done a supplier review to pick our best suppliers, not always the cheapest ones, but the best ones that are there when we need them, and by us supporting them, they can support us, and so we don't run into these golden nails again in the future.
Right.
And so that I think that's things we've all learned, that going forward we'll continue to do that.
Yeah. I think, Lisa, you'd agree with that. That's something in the fashion industry people tend to. I think we've learned lessons over the last number of years about the cost of cheap clothing, throwaway clothing, and so organizations like yours, companies like yours that have that vertical lift. Canadian made, high quality. So it's not always about the cheapest. That should not be the common denominator here.
Absolutely. And funny that you would bring up the fast fashion, which we're now seeing struggling in our industry. That bubble is beginning to burst. But one of the things that I did notice with many of my colleagues and people within my industry, emerging designers, independent designers, many of them could not pivot because they don't own their manufacturing. And that's something that I've encouraged a lot of designers to become as vertical as possible, learn every aspect of your supply chain, control as much of it as you can. Because I mean, we were able to, within 24 hours, completely, set up, re-establish a production line that worked for this product that we're now making. And many couldn't. They didn't have the time or the resources to make that pivot. So the verticality is definitely something that we're very grateful that we stood by and maintained over these years.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations to you both on surviving and actually thriving through this entire situation. I guess it goes to show what innovative leadership really can do in the business community. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.